Hi, everyone. My name is Alyssa Silva, and I'm here at American Jewish University's Office of Open Learning. Thank you all so much for joining us today for this fantastic class, From Exile to Embrace, the Exodus of Jews from Arab Lands. Thank you also to those who have donated towards this class and helped make these classes free. If you're interested in becoming a donor to AJU Open, please see the link in the chat so that we can continue to provide these courses for free to all of our viewers like you. So thank you all again. Now, before we get started, and before I hand it over to Jacqueline, I just want to introduce her and share a little bit about her first. So Jacqueline Semha Gmach is a native Tunisian, and she spent a lifetime committed to the furtherance of Jewish culture and the furtherance of the story of Jewish Arabs. And Ms. Gmach initiated the Middle East North African USC Shoah Foundation Institute, new collection. And most recently, she started We Are the Tree of Life initiative, which you can find that link in the chat as well, which is an educational tool whose mission is to present the arts and culture that were created during the Holocaust. She's also the author of 2 books. One is From Bomboloni to Bagel, A Story of Two Worlds, and the novel, The Antiphonary of Love, The Call of the Scroll. And both of those books, those links to purchase are in the chat as well. We are so excited to have you with us, Jacqueline, to share your wisdom, share your story. And without further ado, please take it away.
It has been of deep emotion that I try to put this program together because, in fact, as I was mentioning, it's a document of legacy for definitely that I can leave to my kids. 84 years in 60 minutes. But I want to share with you what happened globally within these 64 years. I finally present for this map what I called a family of the world. And you can see that the red arrows are spread out a little bit everywhere. That means adjustment, that means sometimes exile, and that means sometimes embrace. Who am I? Thank you for mentioning my name as Jacqueline Semha Gmach. That was very, very, very good. Gmach is a Hebrew name, and it means the doer of good deed. I was born as Simcha. I grew up as Jacqueline Semha. Even in Tunisia, when I was a kid, they called me Nana. In Paris, I became Jacqueline. In Israel, Ronit. In Montreal, Jacqueline. San Diego, Jackie. Retired as Jacqueline. And I want to be the senior Jacqueline Semha Gmach. I am one of the 850,000, and that's the number which is established today as the exodus of the Jews from the Arab countries. I'm going generally to present North Africa and get down to Tunis, when I would love to tell you my story and my stories and those as illustration of what has been my life. North Africa, it was 2,000 years ago, has been the home of the largest community and also Tunisia. We have an origin as an early immigrant coming from Spain, as you know, and we are called the Sephardim. Here I will bring a point that I never personally understood. Why are we called Sephardim as a result of the expulsion of Spain when we were over there 2,000 years ago? If somebody has the answer, I would love to hear it. We were living in urban centers. We were craftsmen, merchants, peddlers, and we even had reduced, if I can use this word, political and diplomatic positions. That allows me with this comment to say we were the protected people, but at the same time called the dhimmis, because under the Muslim law, we were identified as of minimized status. And that was even happening for the Christians. We talk more about the Jews as dhimmis, but the Christians were a little bit of those two. And we are, as you know, and we are familiar with that, the people of the book in the Islamic theology, which means that in a sense we say that we have helped the Islamic theology and the concept of understanding of those three religions. Antisemitism, yes, we did have antisemitism. We did have pogrom. I feel, and I recall my first encounter with antisemitism when entering the building where I was living, and you are going to see an image of it, and found one of our neighbors, Monsieur Sadoun, with a knife in his chest. And I was 12 years old. And the only thing I did was to sit down next to him and cry. And he was attacked by an Arab. I want to be very, very careful. And if I am incorrect, please make the remark between Muslims and Arabs. Most of the North Africa Jews emigrated to Israel in 1938 to establish a place, Israel, even with the hostility of the people living in the Muslim lands. Who is an Arab Jew? What is an Arab country? It's a place or a person who speaks Arabic. There is 19 Arab countries spread out all over the Middle East. In the Arab countries, they practice Islam as their religion, and still, but in a very minority populations are found in the Arab world. I put you an image of what looks like a synagogue and of an Arab country. In fact, it's the Griba, which is one of the oldest synagogues in the world. There are two of them, as far as I know. One is in Peking, in Israel. The other one is the Griba in the island of Djerba. In April 11, 2002, they had a detonation, explosives. 21 people were killed, 14 German tourists were killed, and it was done by Al-Qaeda. There is a beautiful report from Deborah Lipstadt, because she was present when they had this massacre. I wanted to give you the list of what we call the Sephardim Jews and the countries where they are. But again, if you don't mind, I will come very soon to the story of my life in Tunis, Tunisia, and other countries. Again, going back to who are the Sephardim Jews versus the Mizrahim Jews. Sephardim, they are the people who came from Sfarad, which is Spain. It has the same origin and root. I was ready to say Shoresh, and root in the world. And the Mizrahim from the Middle East. We have to be very careful, and thank you for Sylvia to mention that I was the founding director of the Mina collection at the USC Shoah Foundation. And I had the opportunity to interview people from different countries. But we have to realize that our suffering was not as that the suffering of the Jews, which could be Ashkenazim or Sephardim of Europe. In fact, it's very interesting because when I was working at the Shoah Foundation, we said that the number of Jews who died as Jews from Tunisia was something around 500. And I am so happy to say, so happy, I'm sorry, let me take it back. And I am so astonished to see that in fact this number is in fact 700. Why did I say happy? Because it shows that research is still going on and we are still working on the definition and the amount of people who have suffered. You lose one life, we lose the world. And we know that's what our halacha says. I wanted also to show you the number of refugees from the Middle East and from North Africa for the years 2000 for the year 1948 to 2017. 1948, establishment of Israel, and you can see those numbers going down. In Tunisia, we were 105,000. In 2017, we are 1,700, and I think it's much lower, especially where with a breaking heart, I see what's happening in Tunisia today. It's very, very, very scary. You mentioned the books. I wanted to show you that effectively there are books a little bit everywhere. There are literature, there are art, and I put here, I don't know if you see my little arrow, but this is a video, an interview, witnesses by Avish Lahim that I recommend. Bomboloni to Bagel, very fast. The Bomboloni, it's a very crispy, sweet, covered with sugar donut, large donut, a little bit like what we eat in Mexico. And how can you come to a country from a Bomboloni tradition to a bagel tradition? I have to say that until today, I don't eat bagel. That means it's my memoir, and the Antiphonary of Love is a novel based upon my life. Why the Antiphonary of Love? Because I am dreaming about us saying essentially what is love. Forget about the word hate. Forget about the word tolerance. Let's use acceptance and shows that the world can be based upon a coexistence, and a respect for each other. This is a number of things that my father was saying. Si tu veux, tu peux. If you want, you can. Il vaut mieux prévenir que guérir. Prevention is better than cure. But I put the translation. But the one that I would like to present is Le pain et l'eau appartiennent à tous. Bread and water belongs to all. By the way, I have spelling mistakes. Why? Because before I take you through my timeline and my life, I want to share one story with you. I was living in San Diego. It was probably in 1984. And I went food shopping to the Ralph's. It was Safeway, La Jolla. And when I came and wanted to enter, I saw a large piece of cardboard with a lady, pregnant, 3 little kids, and and she was holding a sign, please help, please food, we need food. And she was with 3 little kids. I couldn't handle it. And I went to her and I say, please come to me to the store and I'll buy you whatever you need. And she say, no, I don't want to do that. I say, why? She say, I don't want to do that. I say, what if I go and I bring you food? She say, yes. That means I went and I really selected and built a full caddy of food for her. But when I came back, the televisions was interviewing her and recording her. And I say, what is that? That means I took the caddy, I left it. Immediately, the reporter comes to me, followed by this cameraman, and say, what are you doing? I say, nothing. And I say, she needs food, I provide food. And she said, my father was used to say, le pain et l'eau appartiennent à tous. Bread and water belongs to all. And he say, I want you to say that on TV. I say, no, I will not. He say, why? I say, I am not going to say that. Tzedakah is the point, to give whatever, and bread and water belongs to all. That means I say, please. I say, okay, if you shade and cover my face, I will do it. And he said, but we do that only with criminals, and you are not a criminal. But I think, again, this is what my heart is telling me, all together, all supporting each other. I'm sure most of you are knowledgeable about the Alliance Israélite Universelle. This is the lady who told me for the first time when I sat in her class, Jackie, si tu veux, tu peux. If you want, you can. And until 1954, at the age of 14, I was a tomboy. I was fired from all, not all, let's say most of the schools existing in Tunis, even the professional, the secular, the Jewish. And this is the lady who said, si tu veux, tu peux, which opened my life to trying to do my best to accomplish what I wanted to accomplish. It's a fundamental commitment to myself. I am one of the 850,000. Yes, I am. I am an Arab Jew. And on the left, you can see the images of two kids from probably the 19th century. And here from this century, myself, with some of our guests, where working at the GCC, we organized a Passover dinner, Passover event in the gymnasium, and was published in April 16, 2001. I see that I have mistakes, but that's life. 2001 in San Diego. It is a long trip. It is a long road. It is a long way too. And I wanted to refer to the beautiful title that Alisa has suggested, that's recommended, and showing how we can go from the exile to an embrace. The green arrows are representing the exile, the difficult times. The arrow highlighted in yellow represent the embrace. And I'm going to take you, if you want to have a stop, we will do that because it is an exile. It is an exile. And sometimes I think it's an exile, even when it is an embrace. Want to tell you a story about Tunis. And I know you all know that the Germans were in Tunisia under the General Rommel from November 1942 to May 1943. We had camp of prisoners, we had a camp of internments, we have a camp of where they had committed to work, and this is my story. This is the building that I mentioned before, and the arrow indicates the balcony where our apartment was. I was playing there, 2 years old, with a nutcracker that in fact I have in my home. And when playing, I dropped the nutcracker to the ground, and the nutcracker ended up on the head of a German soldier. We didn't have Nazis, I think, in Tunis, but we had soldiers. We had the army. The guy starts bleeding on his head. My grandmother, who was realized what I had done, give a quick look to the outside and see that the police, the German officer, enters the building. A few minutes later, a big bang, 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 bang at the door. She opens the door, and it is the German officer. What does she do? She grabs me, takes me up in the air, and starts slapping me as much as she could. Of course, I was crying, 2 years old. And the German officer say, "Ma'am, please stop. It's a kid. She didn't know what she was doing. I can go to my headquarters. They will take care of me. Please." He left. We were saved. And we could stay in the apartment for a period of 2 weeks without opening any windows. 1958 is my exile. And I put you here on the left, a letter that I received in 1961 saying that I was becoming a French citizen. And French citizen, it gives me still 3 years where the status is not well done, and the fear, in a way, to be called back as a young lady, as a young student to Tunisia was a word. But I made it. As a result, I found myself as a student in Paris, but during the summers from 1958 to 1967, each summer I went to Israel, and it's a country that I define as Hahava in my heart. It's love. It's a beautiful place. It's a place of shalom. Here you have me with the flowers, with my cover tambo, with my camel purse. And here I want to share with you two little stories. I was in charge, I don't know the year exactly, I cannot retrace it. I was in charge of a group of 50 young teenagers, all young adults, to visit Israel, and we were organized by the Sochnut, the Jewish agencies. And we had a stop in Sde As a person in charge, I went to the Hadar Hotel. I went to the restaurant to see that everything was in place for the guest. And I found Mr. David Ben-Gurion cleaning up the table. And I go to him and I say, "Sir, what are you doing?" He said, "I'm cleaning the table." I said, "Please, sir, don't do that. I can do it for you." And he looked at me. "You know, young lady, do you know what is a kibbutz? Today I am working and clean the Hadar Hell. Tomorrow I'm going to sit down and you will be the one doing it." And I don't know why, when I found this photograph on internet, I thought, my God, I remember this smile. The other one that I want to share with you, and I had many stories, of course, is with Golda Meir. And here too, I have a lot of diaries of journal, but I cannot find a year. She did travel in a public bus, and I was in this public bus for a week when visiting. And the bus driver, per respect for Golda Meir, was stopping the bus in front of her home. I took her grocery bags, bring them on her kitchen table, and she looked at me and saying, Toda Ronit, thank you, Ronit. And I answer, Bevakasha, Giveret Meir. But those few words are really an inspiration to me. Now we are going to go to Paris. Are you still with me? Go to Paris, and we are going to have some different situation. As I say, in 1963, as you know, I am a French citizen. Now I am working in a lab who do the research at the Sorbonne in physics and chemistry. 6 months go by, and one morning when I come to the lab, I found the small space that I had to hide and to sort my research, everything in ashes, nothing. And I wonder what happened there. And finally, our professor, Professor Guy Pantier, called the police. They came and they interrogated all of us. They kept me for at least an hour and a half. Why? Because first of all, it's a Sorbonne, it's an institution. The Sorbonne has been created in 1830 something, and I even didn't know that. Interrogation to to a number of researchers, and one of them finally said, I did it. And the police said, why would you do that? And he said, because I was very upset with Jacqueline Nataf, was not married, with Jacqueline Nataf. He said, what do you mean you were upset with Jacqueline Nataf? He said, yes, because I asked her to take Magen David that she wears around her neck, to put it and hide it in her clothing, and she refused. And she was putting me in danger. 1963, Paris. In danger? He said, yes, because I'm a Jew. And this experience of act of anti-Semitism, or fear of a Jew for the consequences of a Jewish community, was something very, very, very hard for me to accept. I know I'm making you jump from year to year, but this is when my parents felt their own exile, and I am responsible of that. 1967, I am driving in Paris when I hear on the news that there is a war in Israel. I concerned, park the car, go to the post office, and send immediately telegram to my parents saying that I am very, very sick. And I need them to come and take care of me. The process of the telegram was something that we used then, and it's very fast, not as fast as the email. My parents replied saying, we'll be in a plane this afternoon, landing at Orly Airport at, I don't remember the time. When they land and get out of reaching the gate, they see me, and my father say, I thought you were sick. I said, no, I was not sick. I was worried for you. He said, well, you worried for me? I say, Arafat is in Tunis. His headquarters are in Tunis. We are going to have pogroms. Something is happening due to the war in Israel. My father was furious. I put them in the situation where they lock the doors of the apartment, they lock the doors of his dental office, they didn't do anything about their bank account, and they abandoned the success of my father in being identified as a notable of Tunis. And I feel until today very responsible of it. I mean, we drive and we get into the Parisian apartment. The phone rings. And I say, yes, yes, I will be there. And my father says, where are you going to be? I say, I am leaving for Israel tomorrow morning as a volunteer. He became so mad that he punched me like if I was a punching ball. He couldn't stop. It hurts. But I think he did it because he loves me. 3 days later, the phone rings again, and they said, okay, we don't need you. We are going to win the war in a few days, and then we'll call you back and ask you to join us. But until today, I feel responsible of what I did to them by abandoning everything they did. And we did as the 850,000 people of the Exodus, of the silent Exodus, and the forgotten Exodus, we did leave everything behind. And we came and we fled and established ourselves in many countries where we were strong, dedicated to the well-being of our families, and giving the country which embrace us. Voila, that may make you laugh probably a little bit. I got married in 1968, and you see two men, right, instead of one. The one on the left is Jean-Jacques Mullard. Jean-Jacques Mullard approached me one day when working in the study room at the university and say, Jacqueline Nataf, j'ai besoin de vous parler. I need to talk to you. And I say, I'm sorry, I'm studying. Say, I need to talk to you. And I say, what do you want? He said, I need to talk to you. And I say, why? And he answered, I want to marry you. I said, you want to marry me? But I even did not know. He said, it's 6 months that I am observing you. That means we had 6 months, additional months of meeting, of dating, but dating holding just the hand, nothing else, I promise. And finally went to my dad as a woman, was a young woman to be, was a mother to be, or I don't know, but as his daughter, that will be the most correct one, to say, Dad, I met somebody. Yes. What's his name? Jean-Jacques. He said, but Jean-Jacques is not Jewish. I said, no, but he will convert. And my father looked at me and say, no. That was it. I never saw Jean-Jacques again after the snow. Years later, in 68, I met David. And when I met David, it was a love at first sight. I think for him too. And I said, my God, this is Gregory Peck. Ah, I went to Dad, same lady, many years later, and said, Dad, I met David. David? Yes. And I did marry David. But here is another story. I get into the world of the Ashkenazim. And as you can, and I was at the religious ceremony. Prior to that, David signed the ketubah, and David only signed the ketubah. I didn't sign my ketubah. That yes, I say, yes, I want to get married. And this is another aspect of the women issues of today. By meeting David, I never met his father. I want to share with you what he went through. He was a hidden child, but he is the kid who went with his aunt to the police headquarters in France when they asked him to come and to be identified. He was arrested, sent in November 1940, sent to la Caserne des Tourelles. You can see the French resonance, and in fact, behind that to see the French attitude of the soldiers, of the police then. But he was liberated on January 16, 1941, arrested again and sent to Drancy, liberated on November 5th, arrested again on January 20, and killed at Suresnes at the Mont Valérien in 1941-1942. This is the card, one side of the card. There are two sides. It's two-sided, that he wrote in the 28th of September 1941. It's just on the top over there, and saying to his family that he's well, that he's keeping going, to keep going with their lives, to be safe, and that he will probably not see them again. As I say, I put and that card was written in 1941, and you can see the size of the card and the size of the writing and the calligraphy. The person who saved him was Marie-Louise Bernard from La Combe de Lancey, and David was the little boy here. He stayed over there for 5 years. And in 1972, we had the joy, we met her a few times, to have Marie-Louise Bernard staying at our home. I am married. I am at l'École Albert Demain, a Catholic school. And here, again, antisemitism. I was a science teacher, physics and chemistry. I enter the classroom and I see written on the blackboard, you know, like of that time, with white chalk, Hitler should have killed all the Jews. Let's do it. I didn't know what to do. And finally, as a very quick reaction, I took my pen and I tapped on the table. And I interacted, asked basically a large number of students to come to the blackboard and to answer my questions in physics and chemistry. We all know as educators that it's very difficult to ask a question to a student that he will not find the answer, right? The way we state it, the level we take it. And each student, I think it was 10 of them, would hear my tapping and continuous tapping. And finally the comment, no, you failed, you got an F. And I did that. Ding! The class is over. I ask the student to stay in the class, and I go and I ask the principal of the school of the religious studies, as well as the principal of the school of the secular studies, to come. And when they come, I say, can you erase the blackboard? I let you leave the emotion. We spent some time in Canada and talking about, again, exile and embrace. I did work very hard in Canada. I had my first child born in Canada. I am missing my parents. I love the weather. I love to go skiing. And but I felt embraced. Why? Because I was in a very strong relationship, finally, with the Moroccan community. And Moroccan community was my community, Moroccan, Tunisian. That means that was easy. Then we went back to Paris as a family, and the reason we did it is because it was very, very difficult for me to be away from my family, from my mother and my father. I am a vice principal at École Nationale Israélite Orientale, and one day I receive a call. No, and one day all the students comes to their classes, and I go outside in the lobby, and I found a kind of backpack. It's not a backpack, it's a serviette. I don't know, something that you hold like that. I found a backpack, and I'm getting scared because we still have problems of anti-Semitism and incidents and accidents. That means I take the backpack and I take it out in the street. I basically was probably at the level of those people over there. Open the backpack and realize there are books. I come back and I tell the principal, and they say, and you open the backpack? How can you do that? I say, I don't know. I was so scared that we had an explosion inside the building, especially because our students were students basically from Morocco, where parents were still in Morocco, and the Sornud, the agency, the Jewish agency, as well as the École Nationale Israélite Orientale, was educating them eventually for them to become Israeli citizens. It was a Zionist act. Okay, I made a mistake. Fortunately, nothing happened. Then, let's say 3 or 4 months later, I receive a phone call, pick up the phone, a bomb threat that we are going to bomb your school. I hang up. I called the minister, the police, and I say, I just received this bomb threat. I need you to come to the École Israélite Universelle. Say, no, we cannot do that. I said, what do you mean you cannot do that? You're not going to leave me. Okay, we might be there in 10, 15 minutes. I say, I have 400 kids here. What are you talking about? I hang up and decide to call the Ministry of Defense or something like that. And I called them and I said, I had a bomb threat. I expect you to be in my school, Alliance Israélite Universelle, National Israélite Orientale, and I hang up. I would say that 3 minutes later, we had people coming and checking everywhere. Was nothing happened. But that same night, after this situation at l'École Nationale Israélite Orientale, we had guards, police officers armed when synagogues and Jewish schools were in operation. That was the first time it was established in Paris. And we know the situation of today in America. San Diego. San Diego. I moved to San Diego in a week with 3 children. When my husband said, we are moving next week, I said, to where? San Diego. I said, where is San Diego? He said, to America. I said, where is America? To California. Where is California? And I want to show you that here, I develop, as of the Si tu veux, tu peux, as a memory of what I did to my parents, a Jewish culture, but I wanted that to be in harmony with a number of organization and city organization. I got a job as a director of the Judaic collection, a gallery in La Jolla, when we invited Bahur Narshan, a very well-known from Sfat, Safed artist. And we were doing that with Chabad. And I told Rabbi Fatkin, for whom I have a lot of respect and did a lot of work with Shabbat, I say, we have to light a Hanukkah. He say, no, we cannot light a Hanukkah. I say, why can't we light a Hanukkah? And he said, because, we cannot do that. You know what's happening in La Jolla for these last years? Jews could not live in this place. Jews could not buy something. And I say, Rabbi Fratkin, this is over. we can do it in the parking lot in the back of the building. And we can light a Hanukkah, and I forced him to build, I don't know how many feet high Hanukkah. He had to go on the ladder to light the first candle. But I think it's also the first time a Hanukkah was lighted. I would say in La Jolla. I don't want to say in San Diego, but definitely in La Jolla. And we can combat anti-Semitism. I prefer combat that fight, because fight is for me an aggressive way. To combat it, I want to protect myself. You know, I'm just a person with a story. I am not a scholar. I am not an historian. I'm a scholar in physics and chemistry, but I am trying to act with my emotions and my thinking. That takes me to the San Diego Center for Jewish Culture, where from 1995 to 2012, we develop all the programs that we have on the left of the screen. And primarily, I was the co-director of those events. And at the same time, on the right, it can show you what we have done. I don't know if you can take a note of that or memorize that, but we did an exhibit called Dafka, the Survival of a People, which we have been able to show, to invite 40,000 people in San Diego and counting those people. But we work with the universities, we work with the libraries of San Diego, and which was beautiful. We did another exhibit inside Anne Frank's house. We did the Make a Ceramic Butterfly. We did the Holocaust program. That means here, Alisa, you are right. By working over there, even with this background of a Holocaust wall, with the names of people who perished, they encouraged me, they oriented me, they inspired me, they introduced me to a leadership ability. I was embraced. Okay, I would love to tell you a story here, but I think I'm going to be out of time to finish. But I selected 4 of the people, Daniel DeLewis, this one you know, Norman Mailer, this one I didn't know, Leonard Nimoy, and maybe I should say the story of Kirk Douglas, that I met at the American Jewish University, because at the time of the book fair, we work very closely, the 2 organizations together. And Kirk Douglas was sitting at the table signing his book, and I go towards it and I say, Mr. Douglas, he say, Mr. what? I say, Mr. Douglas. What is this, Mr. Douglas? I say, aren't you Kirk Douglas? And he say, I'm not Kirk Douglas, I am Kirk Douglas. And I say, you know, sir, millions of people call you Kirk Douglas. He turns towards his assistant, he'd say, I want to go to her book fair, she's too funny. USC Shoah Foundation, how much more do I have?
So we have about 10 minutes left, but would love to get some questions.
Okay. 2012, I received a phone call from Stephen Smith, the executive director of the Shoah Foundation. He said, Jackie, what do you think if we do testimonies from a collection from North Africa to the Middle East? I said, I would love to. I say, okay, you got the job. And he left me with the job, which was motivated also for me by the fact that the final solution was heard very, very, very carefully, with a lot of interest by the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem. And I, through my research, if the war would have lasted longer, maybe the extermination, it would not have been just an exodus, but we will have had a similar extermination of the Jews of Arab countries. Here you have some faces that we interviewed. This is, and I'm presenting this one outside because If you want, you can go to the Eyewitness on YouTube. She's the mother, she was the mother of Daniel Pearl. She became a friend, and she has a beautiful interview with her husband that you can find on Eyewitness on YouTube. She's talking about the Jews of Iraq and the Faroud. I have a lot of sentiment. We became very, very close before she died. 2018, here is another story of America, a young country. 300 years, I don't know how many years is America. The Tree of Life Synagogue, antisemitism, a massacre. How can we justify that? A tragedy. That means I came with the idea of the little poem that you have there. In those days, music notes were silence. On this day, music will be heard. In those days, drawings were hidden and invisible. On this day, they will be seen. In those days, literature was voiceless. On this day, life stories, words, and poetry will be proclaimed. And we came up with the logo, which was designed by my granddaughter when she was 9 years old, and I decided to, after if you want, after a number of phone communication, because I thought it's time for Yvette to know about the Holocaust. I am an Arab Jew. I am one of the 850,000. I am not one of the 6 millions, but I am one who screams, never again. I know you will be receiving a recording. That means it doesn't matter, but I would love for you to use this link of the trailer and use the link of the docuseries that I did about how can we learn today from the art which has been created during the Holocaust or by the survivors of today. And how, that's where my logo changed a little bit from to ביחד לתיקון עולם. I am proud of that project. I'm proud of that project, and I will tell you why. I'm going to get emotional there. Because I didn't have to raise one penny. We were 4 people developing this 72-minute movie, 2 Jews, 2 non-Jews, dedicated to We Are the Tree of Life Carry On. And we got the Award of Excellence 2024 from the Wilbur Foundation, which is an American foundation which was created, a religious American foundation, in 1949. That takes me to the art that I wanted to share with you. I don't know if you are familiar with Bach, but you will read it. Here's part of his 2 works that I think are representing the story and the survival, the massacre and the survival of Jewish communities, not only on the Holocaust, but he was in the Vilnius ghetto. And if you see here, although this is an oil painting, a duplication, multiplication of the little kid that we see as a rabbi in so many Holocaust pictures. And some of them here, that the face on the left has no features. It could be whoever. Everything is destroyed. It could be a Magen David, or it could be that he was holding like the Christ, a cross, or Magen David. And in the image on the right, you can see the distance between the tree and its roots, the land, the mountain, but the leaves are green. The leaves are surviving all those tragedies, and we will survive today. The other thing is, you know the story of Guernica and what happened. And on October 7, it was drawn and painted on the walls. I forgot where. I didn't know that. I forgot showing the Guernica of October 7 with, if you want, one part which has been enlarged. Here is not my project, but I am working with somebody who's by the name of Sharon Brody, who is, I'm sure, among the register, which is a beautiful, beautiful interfaith musical. Please, interfaiththemusical.com, and how with music, as you can see with the illustration of our slide, we can all get together. Oh, sorry. One other stuff that I'm doing is in regard to all the trauma and all the post-traumatic disorders that we are living. I am working with Dr. Joshua Cohen, who is probably in the room, in the Zoom also. We did a 20-minute video which gives you a focus on trauma recovery through film and video. And we present on Zoom, Josh presented it to the called Noam conference in Israel. And this is really a document where the therapists of Israel were looking for stories, advices, recommendation of how to take care of the traumatic life that so many people must have in Israel and so many in the world, like Ukraine. We work very, very closely with Peter Yarrow, who loves and dedicates a lot of his activism to We Are the Tree of Life. Voila, again, I think we did most of it, but I'm working on a project of how to combat anti-Semitism. I don't know why I put it here. I'm going to pass on it because I want us to take the time to say a never again and never, never to be forgotten. I need your help. We need to get together. The Red Cross, by the way, I don't do any politics. I don't understand politics. I understand education and not always. But 1 year later, after the massacre of October 7, this little kid, this Nathan Cohen, is part of my daily life. How can we admit, how can we understand that the Red Cross never visited those people? Those people. If you have an idea, I wanted to have the woman of the world, the woman, the mother, the grandmother, the sisters, signing an open letter to the Red Cross and say, go and check on them. Just check on them. Jacqueline Gmach at hotmail.com. The embrace is the honor to be the mother. I am done. And introduce you to my family. This is my Rebecca with our children. This is my grandchildren. This is the other ones. Can I have 30 seconds?
Yeah, go ahead.
I met Debbie Friedman at the beginning. I did the first concert of Debbie Friedman at Congregation Bethel. And her Lechilach is incredible. And I follow Debbie all the way. Shlomo Carlebach, I was his driver in Israel. And as much as Debbie gave me her blessing, even when I was not with her, not at a concert, and how much help Shlomo Carlebach gave me. Esoenai elehorim meyain yo ezri be'im Hashem ose shomayim boretz. Embrace. Thank you.
Jacqueline, thank you so much for this beautiful presentation and sharing your life story with us. And to the audience, thank you all so much for hearing her story and for learning with us today. Please consider a donation so that we can continue keeping these classes for free. And keep an eye out. This week we have 2 more webinars coming up. Tomorrow we have Tablet Shattered, the Future of American Jewish Identity with Rabbi Brad Shavit Artson. And then on Thursday, we have our final class of the year with Rabbi Jonathan Leaner of the Pardes Institute for Jewish Studies. So thank you all again for joining us. Please register for future events. And Jackie, thank you again so very much.